Using small grass tufts is a great way to increase the level of your miniature terrain. But what if you're at the level where you don't want to spend several units of currency to buy repurposed plastic junk? Well, you can make your own, they are at least good enough. Hello, welcome to Bardscraft. Here I have some hempen rope, fur and a hot glue gun. Let's use these to make a few types of foliage. Alright, let's start with the basics. First, we'll need scissors to cut short bits of the hemp rope. It is best to cut many bits before you start gluing. When doing this for the first time, I always had to cut more in a hurry before the glue cooled down. I'm not gonna make the same mistake again. I cut rope bits of different size, so the tufts become more natural. These bits should be enough for what I have in mind. Next, grab the end of your rope bits and separate the fibers. Now that's a small tuft already. Before assembly, I prepared about 3 to 5 of these per tuft. Now you can apply some hot glue on a flat, heat-proof surface. It's easy to just poke in the tufts. Now that isn't looking too amazing yet, and as you can see, there's exposed hot glue. I glued on the remaining rope bits separately, trying to cover the glue, and most importantly, not create more of the exposed glue mess. To clarify, here I'm carefully gluing tiny tufts around the center in order to minimize visible hot glue. I saw some hot glue on the tufts of the desert temple diorama, so I learned from that. Once you're happy with the size of your tuft, go ahead and fully separate the fibers from the rope weave. The best method is to use violence. At the same time, this is a good way to test the durability. I went ahead and made the rest of my tufts. And yeah, I'm making these to improve some of my old terrain, and then I'll put some aside for future builds. To make the tuft cleaner, you can also use a knife to cut away the extra hot glue, instead of just covering it with more tufts. Do this especially if you want to create smaller tufts. Yes, about the fur. I tried to make similar tufts from the material, but that didn't work well, as you can see. I'll put this material aside for now, but I do believe the fur has other useful applications. Now you can remove a few tufts and just use them as that. The rest shall be painted. But before that, I wanted to see if the hemp can be used on large areas to make patches of long grass or bushes. Here I have a simple stony hill or a cave tile that I'll cover with some grass. I glued on the rope bits without separating the fibers. The idea is that the fibers can be separated later. This should save lots of time, as you can skip one step. Be brave and try methods that seem too strange or messy. They might just work. Alright, that's surely enough. Make sure to remove any hot glue mess at this point. Here I was a bit too hasty. The glue is still hot as the foam insulates well. I still added a few more bits on areas with too much exposed glue. Right now we can see quite a lot of exposed hot glue, but that's no problem. The next step is to separate the fibers of the rope. Simply move them around for a while. Okay, here we can still see little hot glue, but I think that will be fixed with some darker washes. The idea seems to work, and it was much quicker now that I only had to glue on the rope bits before separating the fibers. Of course, this is not as good as the tufts made with the pre-separated rope bits, so I only suggest using this technique for larger areas, as there is more foliage to hide the hot glue. Time to paint. The tufts are easily painted with washes. I'll use these diluted paints to color mine, but remember, these can be painted in all manner of colors. I applied the washes and then removed the extra with paper. This one is done, compared to an unpainted one. When these were still wet, I made sure that the fibers are well separated. Good, I am now done with these. What still remains is to paint the ones on the stone hill. I started by applying the black wash. Most importantly, this will help hide any visible hot glue, and it should improve the shadows of the grass. With a bit of paper, I wiped off the excess. Then I added plenty of the green wash. This will become much less green once the excess is wiped off, fitting for a dry stone hill. Lastly, I applied yellow and red on the upper parts of the grass. I wiped off the excess and called it almost done. The way I glued on the rope bits results in clumped fibers, especially when the wash is applied, so I carefully worked the grass into better shape before it dried. Not bad. I cut away all of my tufts from the cutting mat. Now I glued on a few grass tufts on some pieces of terrain that I thought needed it. That's the Dragon's Gorge, and here the gate to Necropolis. To attach the tufts, I'm simply using PVA glue. It is good because it turns transparent once it's dried. I finished the hill with a few more grass tufts. I like this one very much, and I believe I'll have to make more of these hills in the future. For now, this one stone hill could work as a miniature display piece, if I ever painted minis, that is. I believe it's best suitable for tiny tufts, perhaps good for basing. Here we have two poorly based miniatures. I cut short bits of fur, trying to keep them in tuft formation, like that. I applied glue on the base, then put the tuft on. I trimmed with the scissors a bit. That's pretty decent, but I'm not sure how well it goes with the base. I glued on an even smaller tuft on the dwarf base, and another one. This is certainly good enough for my needs. The tufts can still be adjusted while we wait for the glue to dry. Here a bit of brown wash certainly improved the tuft and the base of the earth elemental. There we have it, exceptionally okay looking grass tufts. It is good to improve upon old crafts, especially if there's little effort involved. Has something sparked your interest? If so, do subscribe, like and watch one of these videos next.